is CNN Breaking News.
Good morning and welcome to CNN News. My name is John Robertson. Today on Breaking News is Sir Antonio's trial. Antonio is unable to pay Shylock back and is now currently on trial. His fate will now be decided in Venice. We have our reporter Smith live on the scene covering the story.
Thank you, Andy. Here in Venice, it's been a pretty hectic morning here. The townspeople of Venice are murmuring on who's going to win this trial, this very important trial, but seems as if most of the townspeople are on the side of Sir Antonio. Looks like only time will tell us the result of this trial. Mr. Shylock, what do you think your chances of winning in court are today?
I think I have a very high chance of winning today.
What do you think you'll receive today?
I think I'll receive all my ducats back, and don't forget, a pound of flesh from my adversary.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
Oh, Sir Antonio, of the trial that's happening today, what do you think your chances of winning are? You think it's high chances or maybe not so much?
I think I have a fairly low chance, and I'm gonna die at the hands of my arch nemesis, Shylock. And now all my ducats and my ships are lost at sea. At least I die knowing that I paid the price for my good friend Bassanio. I gave him a good life and a good wife.
Hopefully you come back alive, sir. John, as we see here in Venice today, it's been a pretty quiet morning here, and court started at exactly 9 a.m. today, and the defendant, Sir Antonio, and the accuser Shylock has presented their cases here before the Duke. John, the news here live now from Venice is that a doctor of the law has just arrived, and assuming from the letter we just received from a dear sir named Valerio, the letter suggests that the doctor of the law might be Balthasar, and he has arrived today in Venice to administrate the proper law and give justice in this case involving Shylock and Sir Antonio. The lawyer has full knowledge of the case and has been pleading Shylock to give mercy to the poor man Antonio.
The quality of mercy is not strained. It dropped it like the gentle rain from heaven. It is an attribute to God himself.
But Shylock refused to give mercy to Antonio, even as Antonio's good friend Bassanio came forward and offered twice as much money to repay Shylock for the bond that Antonio owed him. Judge Balthasar also stated that if Shylock was to proceed on with this trial, and was persistent on getting his pound of flesh from Antonio, that the court of Venice would provide him justice and give him the pound of flesh from Antonio. The court has now been dismissed for the morning.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to Lin Noodle. We have the mayonnaise noodle. We have the vermicelli noodle. We have the dry rice vermicelli noodle. We have the sweet potato noodle. We also have another rice vermicelli noodle. Oh, this is just a tin rice noodle. We have some weird Asian noodle I do not know about, and we have some noodle that's from the Italian. And if you buy the noodle on linknoodle.com, you get the free rice bag. The free rice bag. Buy now. Buy now. Save 50% off. Okay, buy now.
Judge Balthasar, as we have seen in a trial today this morning, very hectic trial so far. A lot of words being exchanged between the both parties. And it seems as if you've been siding with Shylock for the most part of the trial.
I'm just trying to be a unbiased judge. I'm trying to bring justice to the whole court of Venice here.
Yes, you would assume so. And who do you think will get justice tonight, or is it not yet decided?
It's not yet decided. As you can see, I'm still listening to both stories, and I have to see which one gets the justice.
Yes, we'll see you in the courtroom later on this afternoon. Thank you. Bassanio, a good friend of Antonio, then came up, offered double the sum of money that Antonio owed Shylock, in an effort to try to lure Shylock into forgiving Antonio of his debt. But Judge Balthasar refused to let Bassanio pay the money to Shylock, saying that Antonio was the only man, as stated in the bond, allowed to pay Shylock back his bond.
It must not be. There cannot be power in Venice to alter the decree established.
And Shylock, seeing that Judge Balthasar had agreed to give him mercy, he thanked Judge Balthasar greatly.
O wise young judge, how I honor thee.
Even after saying this, Judge Balthasar pleaded with Shylock once again to take 3 times the amount of sum that Antonio owed him, and at that price, let Antonio go free. Even as Judge Balthasar pleaded with Shylock to take thrice the amount of money and let Antonio go free, he refused, saying that he would rather have justice than money. Judge Balthasar then proceeded to ask Shylock if he had a scale to weigh out the 1 pound of flesh he was to cut from Antonio, to which Shylock responded yes. Judge Balthasar also asked him if he had a surgeon nearby to stitch up the wound and cover the blood that Antonio would bleed as he was being cut. To which Shylock responded that it never says in the bond to have a surgeon nearby when Antonio bleeds to death. And Judge Balthasar, before letting Shylock proceed with cutting a pound of Antonio's flesh, stated out one more important piece of information.
1 drop of Christian blood, and that lands and goods are by the laws of Venice, confiscated upon the state of Venice.
Since in the bond it never talked about drawing blood from Antonio's flesh.
Is that the law?
Shylock, knowing that he was in deep trouble, decided that instead of taking a pound of Antonio's flesh, he would rather settle for 3 times the amount of sum that was proposed by Bassanio earlier. And Judge Balthasar, being the wise doctor of law he is, refused to let Shylock take the amount offered by Bassanio, saying that he had refused it earlier in the open court. Told Shylock that he would either have to take a pound of Antonio's flesh without drawing blood, or go home empty-handed. And as Judge Balthasar looked through the laws of Venice, he came across another important one dealing with this trial. He saw that if any man with direct or indirect attempted to murder another citizen, his life will be decided at the hands of the Duke, and all his possession must be divided, 1/2 given to the state of Venice, the other half to the person he has offended and tried to murder. And Shylock, hearing this, he was now at the verge of tears as he saw in split seconds his house and his money and everything he possessed be taken away from him. And he, as he stated to the court, rather be dead than see all his wealth being taken away from him. As the lives of Shylock now lay at the hands of the Duke's hand, he decided to set Shylock free and not give him over to death. He also decided that if Shylock was to remain humble, instead of giving half of his possessions to the state of Venice, it would be cut down to a small amount fine.
Thou shalt see the differences of our spirit.
Although the Duke said the amount Shylock had to pay back to the state of Venice would be cut down to a fine, Judge Balthasar argued that the amount he owed to Antonio, half of his possessions, would not be cut down to a fine, but rather he would have to pay the full amount of money.
Girl here.
And Judge Balthasar once again asked Antonio if there was any mercy he could grant Shylock, as he was suffering after hearing his verdict of giving all his possessions away to Antonio and to the state of Venice. And after thinking for a few minutes, Antonio came up with the conditions of the mercy of which he would give to Shylock.
He presently become a Christian. The other, that he do record a gift. Here in the court of all he dies possessed, unto his son Lorenzo and his daughter.
And Shylock, upon hearing his verdict and seeing that he had no way of escaping, agreed to the verdict and walked off as sad as we've ever seen him, with his hands on his head. John, as we saw today, very gruesome trial, extending over a long number of hours, but finally we got the verdict, and it looked as if the people of Venice and the whole court was happy at the verdict. Thank you, and back to you, John.
That seemed like a very tense trial. Seemed like it went to a good verdict too. Thank you, Smith, for covering the story. We're just going to go on a short break and we'll be back. Don't go anywhere. There's going to be more CNN Morning News.